Hey Internet, Eric here. I know it's been about a week and a half since the last time I had a video come out, and I want to try to keep these flowing at least once a week, once every 2 weeks at the latest. And I thought to myself, well, I'm about due to do a new video, but I didn't know what I was going to do because my last two videos were basically the idea of my buddy Roger. So I remembered I was going to do a series of videos where I feel like I'm the only one that enjoys a movie and everyone else hates it. So I thought to myself, okay, I got the idea, but what movie do I do it on? I mean, do I do Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme? Do I do Demolition Man? Do I do an Uwe Boll movie? Which we will be getting to Uwe Boll movies because, yes, I am his only fan. And I thought to myself, well, we're going to do the horror genre for starters because that's my favorite genre of all movies. And I said, well, to make it easy, what I'm going to do is I'll pick a film from a series of movies. And I thought, okay, well then what series do I do? Do I do Nightmare on Elm Street, which there's plenty for me to choose from there? Do I do the Saw series? Do I do Halloween? And I thought, no, I'm doing Friday the 13th. Because A, my favorite series, and B, I just fucking love Jason Voorhees. So I thought to myself, okay, do I do the obvious route of Part 5 with the fake Jason? Do I do the obvious route of Part 8, where he supposedly, takes Manhattan, but he's on a boat for the first fucking hour of the movie, and he doesn't show up in Manhattan till the last half hour, and you could tell other than Times Square, scenes, they're in fucking Vancouver. I thought, nope, I'm going to do my favorite of the series. Well, it's probably I'll probably put up at number 4. And this one here is not Jason X. Good. This one is probably the one that I have the most fun with other than Part 6 because Part 6 was great because it's so tongue-in-cheek. But I know for a fact that I feel like maybe out of the entire United States, I am one of 5 people that enjoy Jason Goes to Hell. And it's funny because this is Part 9. Jason Goes to Hell was originally titled Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday. But what I just now noticed before I did this video is the subtitle of the Final Friday is not on the DVD cover because they ended up making Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason, and then they did the fucking remake. But Jason Goes to Hell came out in '93, directed by Adam Marcus, and this is probably the one I've seen the most and had the most fun with. Like I said, other than Part 6, because it's a new direction for the film series, which even the hardcore fans have to say we're getting a little fucking stale after 8 films, okay? There's only so much you can take of the same typical mysterious killer in the woods hacking and slashing these fucking horny, drunken teenagers. I mean, you could tell they were getting desperate because Part 5, they had the fake Jason. Part 6 was so tongue-in-cheek and poking fun at himself. Part 7, they had to have him fight, a girl with telekinesis. So when New Line Cinema took over from Paramount, when they got the rights, they made Jason Goes to Hell. And, yeah, this is not your typical Friday the 13th film. And I, am happy about that. So much fun. Once again, Kane Hodder is Jason. And I know a lot of people are going to complain, well, yeah, of course it's not your typical, Friday the 13th Jason movie because Jason physically isn't in it that much. Well, here come, the typical part of the video where I say spoilers, blah, blah, blah. But then again, this came out in 1993, and I'm already going to have the title of Jason Goes to Hell in my YouTube video title. So, if you don't want to hear a review or what have you on a movie you haven't seen and you worry about spoilers, don't click on the fucking link. Okay. The movie starts out in typical Friday the 13th fashion. And you have the young lady at home in her cabin being chased by Jason, runs out to the woods. But then after about 5 minutes, what is great is she runs him into this middle of this field, and out of nowhere, the fucking FBI has been waiting for him, and they literally blow him away. They shoot his body to shit, and then they blow him up. So that tells you right there, okay, this is not going to be your typical Friday the 13th movie. And then in the background we have we're first introduced to my favorite character in the whole fucking movie, and probably top 3 characters in the entire series in general, is Creighton Duke, played by Stephen Williams, from 21 Jump Street, I guess he was, the original TV series. They blow him up, they take Jason's body to the morgue, and the coroner is a big man, played by Richard Gant. He's examining Jason's body. When he finally gets to Jason's heart, he notices that Jason's heart is like twice the size of a normal man's heart. And he makes, an observation that is, full of a black viscous fluid, he says. He doesn't know what it is, but he says it's not blood. So right then and there, another thing you realize it's not a typical Friday the 13th movie is we're going to have somehow some supernatural stuff to it. I mean, first off, you're going to have to fucking wonder how's Jason going to get back together. He's blown to hell. Then Jason's heart starts beating on its own. And what's really cool that I always loved is you hear the heart beating, and then you hear this audio effect, like it's hypnotizing Richard Gant, which it does. And then for some fucking reason, he lifts up the heart and he starts chewing on it and eating it. And the gore is fantastic. Like he said, you got this viscous fluid, this big, thick, nasty fluid pouring down his hands as he's eating it, and he's just going into it. And it's great because there's a part where he's eating it, and he's literally like chewing on it like it's a fucking like steak that's too dry, and he's going into it. And then he throws up a lot of what he's eating, and the gore is just pouring down his face and onto his body. Fantastic. And then as he's trying to take off his coat, you see these lights coming from Jason's body and going into the coroner's body. And another great thing I have to praise is the audio in this scene. Is as the coroner's yelling, they mix his yell, and they also, it seems like they tweak the audio a little bit to make it sound like a mixture of a human yell and like the Godzilla roar. Love it. Assistant coroner comes in, trash talks Jason's body. Jason, who is now possessing Richard Gant, the coroner, kills him and leaves. And as he's leaving, he walks by a cabinet, that they would keep their equipment in, and instead of the reflection of the coroner, it's Jason's reflection, which is fun. And as he's leaving, the coroner walks past these 2 FBI agents that were involved in killing Jason, and one of them is played by Kane Hodder, who has played Jason from part 7 all the way up to Jason X. And it's great because Kane makes this little quip about saying, Jason was nothing but a little pussy. And, the coroner was just going to walk away, do nothing to them, but he hears Kane Hodder call Jason a pussy. Or I'll just go calling him the coroner, it's Jason. Jason hears Kane Hodder call him a pussy. And you see this big smirk on Kane Hodder's face, and then we quickly cut to a TV screen with a news program, and it's Kane Hodder dead already, talking about Jason's missing body. And the first thing you fucking see is Kane Hodder dead, so it's like Kane Hodder insults himself and then is killed by himself, if you think it that way. Fun. We meet the news reporter. He's like this douchebag, Geraldo Rivera type character. I can't think of his fucking name. But he talks about the whole, how Jason's body's dead, and you get Jason's body's missing, and then you have these, the assistant coroner dead, the FBI agent's dead, the Richard Gant coroner is missing, Jason's body is gone, and Robert's his name. Robert meets up with Creighton Duke, and basically it's Creighton Duke being interviewed, and Creighton, in his funny way, says some dialogue, which I'm not going to spoil because it's just so obscure and off the wall. It's great. But he basically says he knows what you think of Jason isn't Jason, and I'm the only one who knows how to kill him properly. So he says, here's my fee if you want it. And then just right out of Jaws, he says, after that you can have the mask, the machete, the whole damn thing. And this is just so much fun. Then we go to Crystal Lake. And one thing that I love about this, another thing I love about this movie is instead of the whole we don't know who's out there in the woods type of shit, everyone fucking knows who Jason is now. You know, the whole town does, because he was obviously on the FBI's most wanted list if they fucking blew him away. Joey B, she's the head of the diner, you know, the local diner. And she's having like a Jason is Dead 2-for-1 burger sale. Just fucking great. I love how Jason is known now. We meet up with Steven, played by John LeMay, and Diana, who is a waitress there. And Steven had a relationship with Diana's daughter, and he fucked up, and Diana was just watching the news broadcast, and so obviously she knows about Jason too. And she talks to Steven. She says, if you want to make things right with Jessica, which is her daughter, you know, meet me at my place tonight. We'll discuss it. So then there's a scene where Creighton Duke is there, and he's harassing Diana. Says, I know who you are, and this type of shit. And we're introduced to Diana's boyfriend, the sheriff, played by Billy Greenbush. And if you know who Billy Greenbush is, you know him from Critters. He's the father in Critters. So, you know, this is fun casting. Fun casting. I did say Diana is played by Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers, that old TV show. So, like I said, this is fun casting. Steven's on his way to Diana. Then we finally have the scene in Crystal Lake. He picks up some hitchhikers. They go skinny dip, have sex. I won't discuss this scene because I have only seen, well, I've seen both versions, but I'm discussing the unrated version, which has probably got one of the most graphic sex scenes in the series, and it's also one of the most brutal kills, I will say, in the scene, or in the series. And all I'm going to say is the two dark-haired campers that are in the tent. I've never seen someone impaled in a movie like this, and I'll leave it at that, because in the R-rated scene, it's literally cut to hell, and you get the full-blown scene here in the unrated version. So basically, the unrated version, of course, is the way to go. Steven's on his way to Diana's house, and in between that, Jason possesses a local cop by the name of Josh, who Diana knows. Josh shows up, tries to attack Diana, and as she's struggling, asking why Josh is doing it, she sees Jason's reflection in the mirror. She is trying to escape, and as Steven shows up, she is killed. Alright? And basically the rest of this movie is Steven is blamed for Diana's murder. He learns who Jessica is from Creighton Duke, and him and Jessica team up to send Jason to hell once and for all. Okay. A lot of people have problems with this movie because of the whole body jumping thing. Because Jason jumps from body to body, and you hardly see Jason at all until the very, very end, where he's in his full form again. I honestly have no fucking problem with this, because the reason is this movie, like I said, this series has gotten so stale. This idea is a fresh take on the series, and people are like, "Oh, it's not so realistic." Blah blah blah. Not so realistic. The motherfucker has been, a zombie since part 6. So what do you mean not realistic? I mean, how many times could a man take an axe to the head and a machete to the shoulder and this and that and still come back? So don't give me that realistic bullshit. They don't like that Jason's hardly in it. I'm like, okay, fine. Just think of it as it's a great suspense movie. The only way for Jason to be reborn, they say, is he's gotta swap bodies into a blood relative. And the only ones left were Diana, who was murdered, her daughter Jessica, and Steven's little infant baby. So you're wondering, how this will happen, you know by the end of the film, Jason's going to make it to Jessica and the baby, and how do they stop it? But then again, you also know, which I won't spoil, how will Jason eventually be reborn, because it does happen, you know, at the end of the movie. And that added scene into the into the unrated version, I won't spoil, but he gets in there and he's reborn. The characters in this movie are actually likable, unlike in a lot of the fucking Friday the 13th films. You don't have the token black guy. You don't have, you know, the stereotypical stoner, the whiny bitch, you know, this and that. You have lots of likable, fun characters. I mean, Creighton Duke, like I said, most fun character I've seen in this series in such a long time. Tommy Jarvis is probably my favorite character of the series, but Creighton Duke is right under him. Because A, he's funny, he's likable, but then by the end of the movie, when he's finally helping Steven and Jessica, the man's a fucking badass. You know, he's there to make sure Jason is sent to hell forever. Like I said, his one-liners, so great, but they're not overkill. There's action sequences in this movie, you know, that are straight out of an action movie. You don't expect in a Friday the 13th film. There's a scene where Jessica is at the police station and Jason is now possessing Robert. He's the Geraldo newscaster I said earlier, who was dating Jessica, and she's in the police station. He's on his way, and he is just killing everybody in the police station to get to her. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the first Terminator. She escapes and she makes it to Joey B's diner, where her daughter is being held because after Diana is killed, the baby is given from Jessica to Vicky, a friend of Jessica's who works at the diner. The baby's, you know, just being watched by Joey B, you know, the owner and her family and everybody. This whole thing with Diana's death is being dealt with. And as possessed Robert shows up at the diner, this is probably the best fucking sequence in the whole movie. You have customers being killed. You have Joey B pulling out guns on people. You have Vicky, this cool little badass redheaded character, pulling out shotguns and shooting the shit out of possessed Robert. There's a scene where she shoots him and it takes like his cheek off. She picks up like a barbecue skewer and impales him with it. Oh my god. It's just fantastic. It's so much fucking fun. This is such a fun popcorn movie. They turn up everything in this film. The gore. Like I said, this is the unrated cut. But the gore is fantastic. You have bodies being ripped in half. You have blood spurting everywhere. I think every time someone is killed, they're at least spitting blood out of their mouth. You have head crushings where the brains come out. You have arms broken and the bones exposed, you know. Oh my god, it's just so fantastic and fun and intense. Is it Harry Manfredini, who's done basically the score for almost, if not all, the entire series. He's at his best here. And he is so good at the diner scene, which I can't praise enough. Your lead character, Steven, being played by John LeMay. Likable character. You want him to get back with Jessica. You want him to save her. God. Vicky, like I just said, Vicky, the badass redhead character who works at the diner. Who knew she was this little badass? I know you just see her. She's just thrown in like 2 scenes before this ever happens. I mean, she's cleaning up the blood of Diana in one scene, and then she's just talking about how she is disgusted with Joey B's idea for the 2-for-1 burger sale. I mean, who knew she was this fucking badass character? Everybody's likable though. This is probably my favorite look of Jason, and everyone they love the look of Part 7, which I do too. John Carl Buechler did a fantastic job with like the exposed kneecaps and rib cage and spine and everything in the face. But what I love is I'm trying to, hopefully you can see this. I love the tattered look of the clothes. But what I love here, it's kind of hard to see, but Jason's mask now seems like it's part of his head. Like either his skin is covering over, his mask, or like his mask has just become part of his body, which is fantastic because, the mask is the most iconic thing he's known for. Like I said, I can't praise how fun this movie is. There's little nods to other horror movies. Robert, like I said, the shithead news reporter, he's trying to trash the Voorhees name, okay? Because it's trash TV. And Steven is hiding in the Voorhees house trying to look for answers. And as he's hiding, Robert walks in and he's talking garbage. But right as Steven's hiding, you hear that Robert has like put stuff all over the house to make it look like it, black magic and shit was, done there. When obviously he just got all this stuff from the prop department. And the Necronomicon is there from the Evil Dead movies. There's a scene at the end when they're in the Voorhees house's basement, and you see the fucking crate from Creepshow, complete with the writing and everything. Oh, so much fun. I just can't praise this movie. As a horror movie to begin with, as a Jason movie to begin with. God, it's so much fucking fun. They leave open the ending for the Freddy versus Jason movie because you see, spoilers, you see Freddy's claw. I won't say how. Like I said, it's just a fun movie. Part 9 in a series of movies that have gotten stale over time. They give it the kick in the ass that it needed. And I've actually talked to Adam Marcus on Facebook. Super cool guy. He always says he was young at the time and didn't know what he was doing. And he is now appreciating the fact that people do love this movie. Because it's still, in my opinion, when I talk to people in general about Friday the 13th movies, sadly it's towards the bottom of the list of the ones that they enjoy. And I've never understood why. It's, like I said, it's just so much fun. I'm not going to explain the little creature here. That you're going to find out for yourself. And that's another totally whole what the fuck is going on with this series moment. But again, it's just fun. It's fantastic. There's really not anything I can complain about this movie at all. Except for one scene where Jason possesses someone and that person talks. But then you think to yourself, just because Jason possesses a person, why couldn't he talk? It's just something you never thought of, and it is what it is. Like I said, yeah. Definitely, I don't have the Blu-ray because I don't have a Blu-ray player yet because I'm still in, the early 2000s. But all I know is the DVD comes with the unrated and R-rated versions, and unrated is the way to go. Like I said, the camp scene with the impalement with the two dark-haired campers, I don't think you've ever seen an impalement like that. At least in a long time when this came out. Yeah. So, in closing, probably the third of my favorites in the series. Yeah. Probably the most fun I've had in the series, if not the best or the most fun I've had. It's at least the second one right after part 6. So, yeah. I'm done defending my movie. I'm sure you hate it, but I know I love it. So cheers, and go check it out.